The U.S. horizon drifted silently through the inky blackness of the Andromeda Reach, its sleek titanium hull gleaming under the distant starlight. Commander Elena Rodriguez gripped the command chair, her dark eyes scanning the holographic displays that wrapped around the bridge like a transparent cocoon of technology. "Proximity alert," announced Lieutenant Kai Nakamura from the sensor station. His fingers danced across the luminescent control panel, tracing intricate patterns of data. Unknown vessel approaching. Definitely not human-designed. Elena leaned forward, her military training kicking into high gear. The Horizon was humanity's most advanced deep space exploration vessel, equipped with experimental quantum communication arrays and adaptive hull technology. They were 5 years into their maiden voyage, tasked with mapping unexplored regions of the galaxy and making first contact if possible. "On screen," she commanded. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a ship that defied every geometric principle Elena had ever known. Its hull seemed to shift and breathe, organic yet mechanical, with surfaces that rippled like liquid metal caught in an impossible dance. Crystalline structures protruded at angles that made her eyes water as she stared too long. "Biomechanical composition," muttered Dr. Marcus Freeman, the mission's chief xenobiologist. "Fascinating. Those aren't just structural elements. They appear to be living components integrated directly into the ship's framework." Before anyone could respond, a burst of complex light patterns erupted across the view screen. It wasn't a transmission in any traditional sense, more like a visual symphony of color and motion that seemed to pulse with an underlying intelligence. Lieutenant Nakamura's console erupted in a cascade of warning signals. "They're attempting some form of communication, but it's not matching any known linguistic or mathematical protocols in our database." Helena's mind raced. First contact scenarios were drilled into every deep space commander's training, but nothing prepared them for this level of alien complexity. "Can we establish any kind of response?" Dr. Freeman stepped forward, his weathered hands moving with surprising grace across a secondary console. "I'm detecting quantum entanglement signatures. They're not just trying to communicate, they're attempting to synchronize information transfer at a fundamental molecular level." The ship's AI, Araya, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Assistant, spoke in its characteristic neutral tone. "Warning. Communication attempt demonstrates technology significantly beyond current human understanding. Potential risk of information cascade. Override," Elena said firmly. "We didn't come 5 trillion kilometers to turn back now." What happened next would be recorded in human history as the most extraordinary first contact moment ever documented. The alien vessel's crystalline structures began to pulse in a rhythm that seemed to resonate with the Horizon's own quantum communication arrays. Colors shifted, mathematical patterns emerged and dissolved, creating a language that transcended spoken or written communication. Lieutenant Nakamura let out a sudden gasp. "Commander, I'm understanding something. It's not words exactly, more like conceptual impressions." The bridge crew watched in awe as complex geometric patterns transformed into what could only be described as emotional landscapes. Images of vast cosmic migrations, technological evolution, and intricate social structures flowed like living information. "They're sharing their entire cultural history," Dr. Freeman whispered, his scientific detachment momentarily shattered, not through text or images, but through pure informational essence. Elena realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. Humanity had always assumed first contact would involve traditional communication, linguistic exchanges, diplomatic protocols. Instead, these beings were offering a direct neural-level understanding of their civilization. Aroya's voice cut through the moment. "Recommended response protocols insufficient. Adaptive communication strategy required." With a decisiveness that would later be celebrated across human space, Commander Rodriguez made a choice that would change humanity's cosmic trajectory forever. "Open our full quantum data banks," she ordered. "If they're sharing, we share back. Everything we are, everything we've been, unfiltered and raw." The bridge fell silent as humanity's most comprehensive cultural and scientific repository began to pulse in synchronization with the alien vessel. Technological achievements, artistic expressions, scientific discoveries, and human emotional experiences began to flow in a cascading river of information. First contact was no longer about words or images. It was about understanding, a direct, unfiltered exchange of existence itself. 48 hours after the initial quantum communication, the U.S. horizon found itself in uncharted diplomatic waters. The alien vessel, which Dr. Marcus Freeman had begun referring to as the resonance in lieu of a proper name, had not physically moved but continued its complex informational exchange. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood in the ship's primary conference room, surrounded by her most trusted senior staff. The room's adaptive walls shimmered with holographic representations of the data they'd received, intricate patterns that seemed to breathe and pulse with living information. We've identified at least 17 distinct conceptual layers in their communication, Lieutenant Kai Nakamura explained, pointing to a holographic display that looked more like an abstract painting than a traditional briefing chart. It's not just language. It's a multi-dimensional information transfer that combines historical context, emotional nuance, and technological understanding. Dr. Freeman leaned forward, his eyes bright with scientific excitement. The most fascinating aspect is how they perceive communication. For them, language isn't sequential. It's simultaneous. Every concept exists in multiple states at once, interconnected like a living neural network. Araya, the ship's AI, interjected with its characteristically precise tone. Potential communication challenge detected. Human linear thinking conflicts with the resonance's multi-dimensional communication model. Elena drummed her fingers on the conference table. The quantum data exchange had revealed tantalizing glimpses of the alien civilization, a species that seemed to view reality as a fluid, interconnected phenomenon, rather than a series of discrete events. But beneath the scientific wonder, a diplomatic challenge loomed large. "We need a breakthrough," she muttered. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Ensign Maya Ortiz, the ship's youngest crew member and a specialist in adaptive communication technologies, had been quietly working on something in the corner of the room. When she spoke, the entire room turned. "What if we don't try to translate?" Maya said, her voice steady, "but instead create a translation environment." She activated a holographic projection that looked like a swirling three-dimensional mandala. Lines of code and mathematical equations danced around the central structure, morphing and reshaping themselves in real time. "I've been developing an adaptive communication matrix," Maya continued. "Instead of forcing our linear communication onto their multi-dimensional system, we create a dynamic interface that can shift and adapt in real time." Dr. Freeman's eyes widened. "A linguistic quantum computer that can exist in multiple communicative states simultaneously." Maya nodded. "Exactly. We're not translating. We're creating a living communication space that can interpret and respond dynamically." The room fell silent. What Maya was proposing was nothing short of revolutionary. A communication technology that didn't just bridge linguistic gaps, but fundamentally reimagined the nature of interspecies dialogue. Aria's voice cut through the silence. "Probability of successful communication. Initial estimate 12.7%. With Ensign Ortiz's proposed matrix, 68.3%. Commander Rodriguez studied the young ensign. Maya Ortiz represented the best of humanity. Innovative, bold, willing to challenge fundamental assumptions. She was a product of humanity's most advanced educational systems, trained to think beyond conventional boundaries. "Implement the matrix," Elena ordered. What followed was a communication event that would be studied by xenolinguists for generations. The adaptive matrix Maya had created began to pulse and shift, creating a living bridge between human and alien communication systems. It was less a translation and more a real-time negotiation of meaning. Conceptual landscapes began to emerge. The resonance revealed glimpses of their civilization, a species that had long ago transcended physical limitations, existing as pure informational entities that could reshape reality through thought alone. They had traveled the cosmos not through traditional space travel, but by essentially becoming the space they moved through. In return, the human team shared their own narrative, a species of explorers, inventors, dreamers, a civilization that had emerged from biological limitations through sheer determination, technological innovation, and an insatiable curiosity about the universe. The communication was not smooth. There were moments of profound misunderstanding, conceptual collisions that threatened to break the delicate informational bridge. But each misunderstanding became an opportunity for deeper understanding. They're curious about our concept of individual identity, Lieutenant Nakamura observed. For them, individuality is a fluid concept, more like a temporary configuration of a larger collective consciousness. Maya's matrix continued to adapt, creating semantic bridges where traditional language would have failed completely. It was communication as a living, breathing entity, dynamic, complex, beautifully imperfect. As the initial exchange concluded, Commander Rodriguez realized they had achieved something extraordinary. This was more than first contact. This was the beginning of a fundamental reimagining of what communication could mean. The universe, they were learning, was far stranger and more wonderful than humanity had ever imagined. 3 weeks after the groundbreaking communication breakthrough, the U.S. horizon found itself at the center of an unprecedented cosmic challenge. The resonance had shared a critical problem that threatened multiple civilizations in a distant sector of the galaxy, a rapidly expanding spatial anomaly that was consuming entire star systems. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood in the ship's advanced research lab, surrounded by a team of humanity's most brilliant minds. Dr. Marcus Freeman was examining holographic projections of the anomaly, his fingers tracing its impossible geometric patterns. Beside him, Ensign Maya Ortiz worked on an adaptive simulation that seemed to dance and shift with living complexity. It's more than just a spatial distortion, Dr. Freeman explained, his voice filled with a mixture of scientific excitement and genuine concern. The anomaly appears to be a self-replicating quantum phenomenon that's consuming matter and energy at an exponential rate. The holographic display showed entire star systems being slowly devoured, their matter breaking down into fundamental particles that were then absorbed by the ever-expanding anomaly. It was a cosmic cancer, spreading without apparent purpose or limit. The resonance has been trying to contain it for what we would measure as millennia, Lieutenant Kai Nakamura added, pulling up additional data streams. Traditional containment methods have failed. They've tried everything from massive energy barriers to quantum entanglement disruption. AIA, the ship's AI, projected a probability matrix that made the situation even more dire. Current containment strategies, 0.3% effectiveness, projected galactic impact, complete systemic collapse within approximately 287 standard years. Maya Ortiz stepped forward, her hands moving across a holographic interface that seemed to respond to her thoughts as much as her touch. What if we approach this differently? Instead of trying to stop or contain the anomaly, we try to redirect its fundamental nature. The room fell silent. It was a typically human approach, not to fight against a problem, but to fundamentally reframe it. Go on, Commander Rodriguez encouraged. Maya's holographic display transformed, showing a complex model that seemed to breathe and pulse with living mathematics. The anomaly is consuming matter by breaking down its fundamental quantum structure. But what if we could introduce a counter-resonance that doesn't block it, but guides it? Dr. Freeman leaned in, his eyes widening. A quantum redirection field. That's theoretical at best. We're talking about manipulating the most fundamental forces of matter and energy. Exactly, Maya responded, her excitement building. We're not fighting the anomaly. We're negotiating with it. The team worked with a frantic intensity that epitomized human problem-solving. They combined insights from the resonance's multidimensional communication model with cutting-edge human quantum theory. Maya's adaptive communication matrix became the foundation for a revolutionary approach to spatial manipulation. Days turned into weeks. The research lab became a crucible of innovation, with team members working in shifts, their bodies sustained by advanced nutrition systems, while their minds explored the very fabric of cosmic reality. The breakthrough came during what should have been a routine simulation. Maya had been experimenting with introducing subtle quantum harmonics, mathematical patterns that could potentially redirect the anomaly's energy consumption. As the simulation ran, something extraordinary happened. The anomaly didn't just slow down, it began to change. "It's responding," Lieutenant Nakamura whispered, watching the holographic display in awe. "Not just reacting, responding, as if we're having a conversation with fundamental cosmic forces." Commander Rodriguez understood the magnitude of what was happening. This wasn't just a technological solution. This was a form of communication so advanced it transcended traditional understanding of technology, biology, and intelligence. The anomaly began to reshape itself, its chaotic expansion transforming into intricate, purposeful patterns. It was absorbing information as much as matter, learning and adapting in real time. Dr. Freeman's hands were shaking as he analyzed the data. "We're not just containing the anomaly, we're teaching it, showing it alternative ways of existing." Araya calculated the implications. Probability of complete spatial system restoration, 87.6% and rising. When the resonance received the initial data transmission, their response was unlike anything the human crew had experienced. It wasn't just gratitude or scientific appreciation. It was a profound recognition, a cosmic acknowledgement of humanity's unique approach to problem solving. They had done more than solve a technological challenge. They had demonstrated a fundamental truth about their species, the ability to see challenges not as obstacles to be destroyed, but as complex systems to be understood and transformed. As the anomaly continued to reshape itself, guided by human ingenuity, Commander Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. This was why humanity was meant to explore the stars, not to conquer, but to understand, not to destroy, but to create. The universe was about to learn that humans were unlike any species it had ever encountered. The quantum gambit. The aftermath of the spatial anomaly resolution had transformed the U.S. horizon from a mere exploration vessel into something far more significant. Diplomatic requests from multiple alien civilizations now flooded their communication arrays, each seeking humanity's unique problem-solving capabilities. Commander Elena Rodriguez studied the latest mission briefing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The resonance had shared a critical challenge that no known civilization had been able to address: a cascading quantum stability crisis threatening an entire sector of interconnected quantum-dependent civilizations. "We're talking about societies that exist partially in quantum states," Dr. Marcus Freeman explained during the mission briefing. "Their entire technological and biological infrastructure relies on maintaining extremely precise quantum coherence, and that coherence is collapsing." Lieutenant Kai Nakamura pulled up a holographic representation that looked like a complex, three-dimensional spider web. Each intersection point pulsed with an unstable, flickering light. "The quantum network is breaking down. If it collapses completely, billions of sentient beings will essentially cease to exist." Ensign Maya Ortiz had been quietly working on something at her station. When she spoke, the room fell silent. "I think I have an approach, but it's going to be risky." Her holographic display showed a complex mathematical model that seemed to breathe and pulse with living complexity. It was a quantum stabilization matrix that didn't just aim to repair the network. It proposed to rebuild it from the ground up, using a completely novel approach to quantum information transfer. Traditional repair methods have failed because they're trying to fix the existing network, Maya explained. "We're going to essentially teach the network how to repair itself." Araya, the ship's AI, calculated the probabilities. Proposed approach: 0.03% success rate using conventional understanding. With Ensign Ortiz's adaptive matrix, 62.7% potential success. The mission would require the Horizon to navigate into the heart of the quantum network, a journey that would push the limits of human technological understanding. They would need to interface directly with a quantum infrastructure so complex that most species would consider it incomprehensible. Preparation was meticulous. The ship underwent modifications that blurred the line between technology and living organism. Adaptive quantum shields were integrated into the hull. Communication systems were rebuilt to handle multi-dimensional information transfer. Every system was redesigned to be not just responsive, but predictive and adaptive. As they approached the quantum network, the universe itself seemed to change. Normal physical laws became suggestions rather than absolutes. Time stretched and compressed. Space folded in on itself in impossible geometries. Quantum stabilization zone approaching, Lieutenant Nakamura announced, his voice steady despite the mind-bending environment. Prepare for direct network interface. Maya's quantum matrix began to pulse. It wasn't just a technological solution. It was a form of communication so advanced it challenged the very definition of intelligence and communication. The interface was nothing like anyone had expected. It wasn't a connection so much as a conversation. The quantum network wasn't just a technological infrastructure. It was a living, thinking entity. And humanity was about to have a profound dialogue with it. "We're not fixing a network," Maya said, her eyes reflecting complex mathematical patterns that seemed to dance across her irises. "We're helping it evolve." What followed was a technological miracle that would be studied for generations. The Horizon didn't just stabilize the quantum network. It showed the network how to stabilize itself. It was a subtle distinction that meant everything. Lines of quantum information began to realign. Unstable intersections became strong, resilient connection points. The entire network began to pulse with a new kind of stability, one based on adaptive learning rather than rigid structure. Commander Rodriguez watched in awe as billions of quantum-dependent civilizations pulled back from the brink of total collapse. This was more than a technological solution. This was a fundamental reimagining of how complex systems could interact and heal themselves. When the Resonance received the mission data, their response was beyond mere gratitude. It was a profound recognition of humanity's unique approach to problem solving, not through brute force, but through understanding, adaptation, and a deep respect for the complexity of living systems. As the Horizon emerged from the quantum stabilization zone, AI calculated the mission's impact. Civilizations saved, 4.3 billion. Quantum network stability, 94.6% and rising. Maya Ortiz looked at her commander and smiled. "Sometimes," she said, "the most powerful technology is the ability to listen." The universe was learning that humans were far more than just another spacefaring species. They were cosmic problem solvers, bridge builders between impossible challenges and groundbreaking solutions. Galactic diplomacy. The Galactic Concordance Summit was unlike any diplomatic gathering in recorded history. Delegates from over 63 distinct civilizations had assembled on a massive neutral space station, its architecture a testament to collaborative engineering that defied traditional design principles. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a holographic negotiation chamber, representing humanity in what would become the most critical diplomatic mission of her career. The challenge was monumental, mediating a centuries-old conflict between the crystalline Zorai Collective and the energy-based Nexus Confederation. "The conflict is rooted in fundamental misunderstandings," Dr. Marcus Freeman whispered, reviewing the extensive background reports. "The Zorai perceive time as a physical substance that can be manipulated, while the Nexus Confederation experiences reality as a continuous energy flow. Their very perception of existence is fundamentally incompatible." Ensign Maya Ortiz had been quietly working on something during the journey. Her adaptive communication matrix, which had proven invaluable in previous missions, had evolved into something far more sophisticated. It was no longer just a translation tool. It had become a bridge of understanding. "It's not about finding a compromise," Maya explained to Lieutenant Kai Nakamura. "It's about helping them see each other's perspective in a way that transcends their current limitations." The negotiation chamber was a marvel of technological and diplomatic engineering. Holographic representations shifted and changed, creating dynamic environments that could instantaneously adapt to the communication needs of different species. Some delegates existed as pure energy signatures. Others manifested as complex geometric forms that would be incomprehensible to human perception. When the initial discussions began, the tension was palpable. The Zorai representatives, crystalline beings that looked like living geometric fractals, began their presentation with a temporal projection that showed centuries of conflict. Simultaneously, the Nexus Confederation responded with an energy cascade that represented their historical grievances. Most diplomatic missions would have collapsed immediately. The communication was so fundamentally different that traditional mediation was impossible. But humanity had other methods. Maya's communication matrix began to work its magic. It wasn't translation in any traditional sense. Instead, it created a shared cognitive space where different perceptions could coexist and interact. The matrix didn't just convert language, it transformed understanding. We're witnessing something extraordinary, AI. The ship's AI observed. The communication matrix is creating a meta-language that allows fundamentally different perceptual systems to interact. Commander Rodriguez watched in awe as the impossible began to happen. The Zorai's temporal projections and the Nexus Confederation's energy signatures began to interact in ways that defied conventional diplomatic logic. It was less a negotiation and more a mutual exploration of perspective. Dr. Freeman leaned closer to Alina. "Humans have always been exceptional translators of experience," he whispered. "Not just of language, but of perspective. We're showing them how to see beyond their own limitations." The breakthrough came not through traditional compromise, but through a profound moment of mutual understanding. The communication matrix revealed the shared experiences beneath the apparent differences. The Zorai and the Nexus Confederation weren't just hearing each other, they were truly seeing each other for the first time. A representative from the Zorai Collective, a being that looked like a living, shifting crystal, spoke in a way that transcended traditional language. "We did not understand," the being communicated. "We saw only difference. Now we see connection." The Nexus Confederation responded with an energy pulse that carried emotional resonance more complex than any spoken words. Gratitude, understanding, a fundamental shift in perception. As the negotiations progressed, it became clear that humanity's role was not just as mediators, but as facilitators of a broader cosmic understanding. They weren't solving a conflict, they were helping two fundamentally different civilizations learn how to communicate. Araya calculated the diplomatic impact. Probability of long-term peace, 91.4%. Conflict resolution effectiveness, unprecedented in galactic records. Commander Rodriguez allowed herself a moment of pride. This was diplomacy at its most fundamental level, not about winning, but about understanding. "Sometimes," she said quietly to Maya, "the most powerful weapon is empathy." The universe was learning that humanity's greatest strength was not its technology, but its ability to bridge seemingly impossible differences. They were becoming something more than just another spacefaring species. They were becoming cosmic translators of experience. 10 years had passed since the U.S. Horizon's first quantum communication breakthrough. The ship, now a legendary vessel in galactic history, had become more than just an exploration craft. It was a symbol of humanity's potential to transform the cosmos. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her once dark hair now streaked with distinguished silver. Around her, the crew that had become a family had grown and changed. Ensign Maya Ortiz was now Chief of Adaptive Technologies, her groundbreaking communication matrix having revolutionized interspecies interactions across the galaxy. "Incoming transmission," Lieutenant Kai Nakamura announced, his voice carrying the calm confidence of a seasoned explorer. "It's the Galactic Concordance Council." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing representatives from species that, just a decade ago, would have been incomprehensible to human perception. The resonance, the crystalline Zorai, the energy-based Nexus Confederation, all sat in a collaborative space that humanity had helped create. A representative from the Galactic Concordance spoke. The communication was no longer a simple translation, but a complex, multi-dimensional exchange of concepts, emotions, and shared understanding. Humanity has changed everything, the representative communicated. The message carried layers of meaning that went far beyond words. It was a profound recognition of humanity's unique role in galactic evolution. Dr. Marcus Freeman, now lead cynoanthropologist, leaned forward. It was never about superiority, he explained to the young crew members. It was about understanding, about seeing potential where others saw only difference. Araya, the ship's AI, had evolved far beyond its original programming. It was now a collaborative intelligence that bridged human creativity with technological potential. Calculating collective galactic progress, Araya announced. Technological advancement acceleration, 237%. Interspecies cooperation, unprecedented levels. Maya Ortiz's adaptive communication matrix had become the foundation of a new way of understanding. It was more than a technological tool. It was a living bridge between different forms of intelligence, different ways of perceiving reality. The mission that had begun with a chance quantum communication had transformed the very nature of cosmic interaction. Humanity had discovered that their greatest strength was not in conquest or technological superiority, but in their ability to listen, to understand, to see potential in the most unexpected places. We're not just explorers, Commander Rodriguez said, looking at the holographic representation of the galaxy. We're translators of possibility. A transmission came through from the most unexpected source, the quantum network they had helped stabilize years ago. It was a message that defied traditional communication, a complex tapestry of information that spoke of gratitude, of potential, of a cosmic understanding that went beyond any single species. The young crew members watched in awe. They had grown up in a universe transformed by humanity's unique approach to exploration. It wasn't about domination or scientific conquest. It was about connection. Every challenge is an opportunity to understand, Maya told a group of young recruits. Every difference is a chance to grow. Araya calculated the broader implications. Humanity's impact on galactic development, fundamental and transformative. Primary contribution, adaptive understanding. As the U.S. Horizon prepared for its next mission, it carried with it something far more powerful than advanced technology. It carried hope. It carried the potential for understanding. The stars outside seemed to pulse with a new kind of possibility. Humanity had discovered its true purpose in the cosmos, not to conquer, but to connect, not to divide, but to understand. And the universe was listening.